Hey, everyone. It's 372 pages we'll never get back. This is Michael J. Nelson along with Connor Listoka. We worked together over at Riff Tracks. Connor came to me one day and he said, there's a book you're really going to hate, and I want to read it with you and say things into a microphone, so we did. Connor, how are you?
Good, Mike. And yeah, we've been using that tag as a book club about books we're probably going to hate for this for some reason. And, I don't know if that necessarily applies to this new book that we're going to start reading.
Oh, not at all. Spoiler alert, not at all.
Yeah, we've read a few books that we enjoy, and I think that we hated Sean Penn's book. We came close to hating Ernest Cline's book, but we're also reading some books that are just sort of out there and extremely amusing and borderline enjoyable to read. And I think this is going to fall into that Jim Tice Eye of Argon category, that Dwight David Thrash 64 Squares territory. Just my guess.
I don't think you're far off the mark. This is an odd one. Why don't you explain what it is?
Yeah, so we talked about it before, and so we didn't do a whole intro episode about it, but we're reading Trucking Through Time by Charles E. Harris. Charles E. Harris, the former equipment truck driver for the Tennessee Volunteers college football team. So it was published in 2002, I believe. Well, self-published, I guess, through some sort of print-on-demand. And Charles E. Harris, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but he left behind this gift for us all. It's been a pretty much undiscovered book until one of our listeners recommended it to us, and now it's currently selling way more copies than any book I've ever written on Amazon. It's gotten the 372 treatment in terms of, if you bought The Mister, you might enjoy Trucking Through Time. If you bought New York Times bestseller Ready Player One, it's recommending you Trucking Through Time. So well done, everybody.
Holy cow, I have to admit, I did not know that the author was no longer with us. And I felt a little twinge at that. I didn't know.
Yeah, he seems, based on the book, he seems like he's probably a nice guy. Not a good writer, however.
Well, hang on. We're not sure of that yet.
Okay. Well, the evidence will start to mount.
Yes, but only in the final episode will we reveal whether or not he was a good writer. Hey, before we get going, I just wanted to throw a couple things at you. Mm-hmm. I like to surprise you occasionally at the beginning of this podcast, and this is no exception. I'm going to throw some duos at you, and I just want your, impressions, like your quick impressions of these duos, these famous duos.
Okay.
Bogey and Bacall.
Hollywood royalty, the first iconic sort of Hollywood power couple.
Laurel and Hardy.
Comedy in the sense of what comedy was 100 years ago.
Oh, you whippersnappers. Laurel and Hardy are geniuses. Speaking of geniuses, Crick and Watson.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I learned all about them freshman year biology. We wouldn't be on 23andMe without those two. Double helix
I think you could probably physically describe most people on this list. Crick and Watson, it took me a second to go, are they just kind of like skinny guys in suit coats with patches on the elbows? And I looked up photos of them, and pretty much.
Yeah. I'm picturing Far Side scientists.
Yeah. Thelma and Louise.
Never seen it, but have seen the Simpsons parody.
Okay.
I know how it ends.
Yeah. Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Sure. I made before I took a 4th of July vacation, I made a rap classics playlist, and Jay-Z's music is still not available on Spotify. He's sticking to Tidal, so I don't listen to.
I didn't know that.
I don't listen to much of it, but I appreciate them for what they are.
Chad and Dale.
Oh, Chad and Dale. Boy,
give me a physical description first.
Well, they couldn't be any more different. These two Marines who both served in Nam. We've got Dale, who I think is 100 pounds larger than Chad, and which is surprising to me because I figured them both for being your typical trucker, wearing Wranglers, and they wear baseball caps, not cowboy hats. I'd say they're probably pretty doughy. But maybe that's strong sort of doughy, since they both are black belts in karate. Maybe like a NFL lineman sort of doughy.
But Chad's only 150 pounds. That's not
less than me.
I don't mean to, I'm not body shaming anyone, but he's not wee, but he's a little guy.
Sure, yeah. I guess he's stocky.
But Dale, 250 pounds, long hair, mustache, classic biker look, I believe is how he's described.
Well, yeah, for many years before he got into the trucking game, he evidently rode a motorcycle, and we're left to assume it was professionally. So,
right. Anyway, that is the heroes of the book, and they dominate the first two chapters, which we're going to go through on this episode of Trucking Through Time. So, and by the way, we have all departments, this being the first episode of, what are we on? Is this season 8? This is our 8th book?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And we are...
Good Lord.
We are approaching, this is going to be episode 48, so we're approaching 50 episodes. And last month, June, on according to our podcast statistics, I have no idea how accurate these are, but we hit the 500,000 download mark.
Oh, is that how does it? I don't have any idea how that stacks up.
Yeah, me neither, but it sounds impressive. I mean, I guess you just keep making more episodes and people keep hearing them. But and I don't know if that's like repeated downloads or anything, but I think that your average Joe would rightfully consider that an impressive feat.
That's good. Why would you download our episode twice? Would be unless there were an error, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So who knows? We don't have one of those like GeoCities hit counters on our website. So that's this is what we have to gauge this now. So I'm sure the sponsors will come running now that we've got that impressive round James Wynn-esque number.
Right. So yeah, all the departments. Meaning we're going to be reading. Mail, we're going to be doing fanfic or real. I will be put on the doc. I'm assuming that I will.
Oh yeah.
And I'm you on the doc.
I'm going to tell you right now, based on, I don't know if it was my shaming or my challenge, but the fanfic writers stepped up their game this time around. There's no more novelty fanfics. They wrote some very legitimate sounding things that could take place in this book. So it's going to be a tricky one.
All right, well, let's dive in. First, a note. Have you ever picked up a book? I mean, this has only happened a few times, and I guess it would be some classics or something like that. There would be a note on the font. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, it always puzzled me.
This book needed a chapter on the font. What in the name of hell is going on with this font?
Yeah, we thought that Dwight David Thrash's book was difficult to read. This one is insane. It makes you appreciate what you take for granted in every other book. I tried to read it in a car ride, and I felt myself kind of getting car sick from trying to piece together. I believe it's Courier New, someone said.
Courier New, and it is not, and I don't know if this is true of all couriers. Please don't attack me. I know nothing. I'm a tyro. I know nothing about fonts. But there's no kerning at all, right? So everything is the exact same space. So you get giant spaces between the words.
Yep, I guess that's what happened. Oh boy, yeah. Now that you point that out, that's definitely true. Yeah, I saw someone on Patreon refer to it as Times New Manifesto. But
well, I said to my wife, like, look at this book I have to read. It's so, you don't appreciate fonts until, I did the whole thing. And then I just opened it up and I was across the room and I cracked it in half and she went, oh God. So that's how striking it is.
Yeah. But he's in the title page and the table of contents and the dedication, he used a perfectly normal readable font. So I'm not sure what made him switch.
Well, that could have been, after the fact, adding digital effects back into Star Wars or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of that dedication page, I want to, because there are people who aren't going to be reading along with this, because unfortunately this book costs like $20 on most of the e-tailers. But excuse me, this says we have the back cover, which says, after 35 years driving over the road, Mr. Charles E. Harris has resolved himself to enjoying the festivities and action of NCAA football. His driving now consists of hauling the football equipment for his beloved Volunteers of Tennessee. And there's a out-of-focus picture of him. Then it has this second sentence, which is interesting. Sometime after football season, he will be collecting data for his second novel. And that
I missed that.
that doesn't sound. I mean, that sounds weird. But then you pair it with this page from his dedication. He dedicates the book to his mother, to two other friends. It sounds like, who stood by him, and then he dedicates it finally to Al, who made the program easier for completion through his computer knowledge. So we have this sinister program that has been easier for completion, and then we have him collecting data for his second novel. So I don't know what he was up to, what he was planning on doing, but it does sound a touch ominous when you take those two together.
When I read that, I went back and I had to double check to make sure it wasn't to AI, who made the program easier for through his computer knowledge.
I mean, so you have to assume that's just his grandson who came over and deinstalled the Bonsai Buddy he had installed that was like spywaring up his computer, to get him to be able to run Notepad or whatever he typed this out on.
His grandson Al, you think?
Sure. 9-year-old Al, bouncing Al on his knee.
Al was my dad's name, which was Alfred, which he hated, and he hid that from everyone. And his parents gave him no middle name. So my dad's name was Alfred Nelson, and he only went by Al. And when I grew up, he was a fireman, and so everyone just called him Stosh, which was just a nickname. So I thought my dad's name was Stosh, and then till one day someone called him Al, and I'm like, what is going on? So anyway, my dad is a huge puzzle as far as his name.
That sounds about right. Well, yeah. So let's get to chapter 1. We only covered 2 chapters because they were long ones, and they were 58 pages of this 350 or so page book. So.
Let's dive in. Let's meet Chad and Dale, or Dale and Chad. I don't know. Does it sounds like Chad and Dale is the way to go.
Yeah, and it's if you're naming your duo, and it's 2 letters off from Chip and Dale, another famous duo. It's going to make it really difficult not to think about that for the entire book. The Rescue Rangers. But so yeah, when we first meet them, they're planning their new trip. They're getting ready to meet with their dispatcher. And there are a lot of things in these first 20 pages or so that are sort of painting the scene. Harris is sort of establishing his trucker credentials here by indulging in the utter mundane details of trucker life. So it starts with Chad is refilling his cooler with knickknacks.
I wish there was a Vegas bet where I said, what is Connor's first note? Because that is I would have won the house on that one.
So yeah, whether that's trucker slang we're all ignorant about, whether that's what you call your Slim Jims and road sodas, I don't know, but it's most of us associate that word with our Precious Moments figurines and just little. My grandmother had bird statues that she would have, so that's what we all had to picture when he was filling his cooler with that little
Hummel figurines, those cute big-eyed little kids picking flowers and tchotchkes.
Yes.
So a cooler full of tchotchkes.
We'll keep that in mind as they truck through time. But it says there seemed to be a change in their normal routine this time, which when you know the title, you're like, this must be a colossal shift. But the change is that they're, instead of driving to L.A. from Atlanta, they're going to the Bay Area. So not really turning the world on its head here.
But the way they react to it, you would think so.
I
mean, my God. Yeah. This was the most confusing opening to a book. I did not understand what was happening. I had to reread this a number of times.
Yeah, it's very, very odd because we don't know who these people are. We don't really know where they're starting until they start describing their route in extreme detail. But we do get their sort of sense of the. We get a window into their personality when he asks Dale, has he ever been to the Bay Area? And Dale says no, and I have no desire to go there either.
Which. I was a little confused because they kept strongly saying the Northwest, and I guess it is considered the Northwest to people who I didn't know that. Sure. I didn't know that the Bay. I just thought it would be called the Bay Area.
Yes,
but the Northwest. But this is Tommy is the dispatcher, and Tommy explains why they want to make this trip. And it's kind of like they're a buddy cop, right? They're the heroes of the trucking, of this dispatch trucking. And so he says, I don't want to go there, but he's like, hey, $30 to go out of your way to Olalla, Nebraska.
Ogallala, N-E.
Ogallala, sorry, I left out the, yeah.
It's written in the book as N-E, so I wasn't sure if that was how he said it as the as the dispatcher, but
right, he said N-E.
So yeah, $30. Imagine all the knickknacks that can buy.
Wow. So they're driving from Atlanta to L.A. They get reassigned to the Northwest, and they have to stop in Ogallala, and this sets them on a course of they change everything.
Yes.
Dale is absolutely freaked out. He loses his crap. And he goes bananas over this. He has no desire to go there, but Chad calms him down, right?
Oh yeah, he says, "Don't worry, Dale. I knew a few shortcuts along the way to save time." Because Chad is well versed on those famous cross country shortcuts. If you're driving due west, you can just you skip through Mrs. Fletcher's garden, like the way I used to go to my friend Josh's house when I was 8 years old. But then, so he lets him know that, he reassures him with the shortcuts. And then he gets to what the sentence where I knew we had made the right decision. There's one of these in every book, but it was he says, "I know a few shortcuts along the way to save time." Mere paragraphs later, "Well, there's only one way to go, partner." And then just to reassure him, he says, "I-20 west, I-59 north, I-24 west, I-55 north, I-70 west across Missouri to I-435 north, to I-29 north to Highway 6 west to Lincoln, and pick up I-80 to Ogallala and onward through Nebraska, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and westward ho to California. Piece of cake."
The memories of Dwight David came rushing back in. I was filled with warmth, and it was so good.
Yes, it was. So that's all one sentence. A lot of people highlighted that as their dumb sentence, but that was Chad rattling that off the top of his head was delightful. And a lot of people wrote in to say it reminded them of the Saturday Night Live sketch, which is the Californians, which came out probably a whole decade after this. But I cut a little piece of that we can roll in.
Shit, get home. Get back on San Vicente, take it to the 10. Then switch over to the 405 North and let it dump you out into Mulholland where you belong.
Sure. At this time of day, it's gonna be jammed. Are you crazy?
Just get on the 10 and get out of here.
That's also very accurate to Californians. I mean, obviously that's why it's funny, but we both know that.
Yeah, so so Dale is then reassured. He says, I knew my partner would know the best way. It is the only way. It is the only way." He just said that.
I don't want to lose this. I assume you made the same note. Who is this Marie character?
Yes, Miss Marie.
Miss Marie. I'll have you back in plenty of time for you to be home with your weekend with Miss Marie, Chad said with a laugh. Because Chad's the funny one.
Okay. I'll take your word for that.
I wanted to back up to, he tells us later, but he shows us in the first, what does Chad say right off the bat? How was your weekend? Great, just not long enough. I know what you mean. Seems to get shorter every week. So they didn't have to tell us that they were the funny ones. But Miss Marie... Chad said with a laugh as he took the paperwork and headed for the door. "Smart ass," Dale responded. "You best have me back, or you know what Miss Marie will do. She'll whip the hell out of both of you."
Wow.
And I made the note right away. I'm like, is she a dominatrix? And then later, I think it might be. There are other references to her that make it seem like that might be the case.
Wow. And the name sounds spot on for that. I mean...
Yeah. But I don't know yet. Chapter 2 doesn't resolve it, but there are tantalizing clues along the way.
That's true. That's true. There was something he was dreaming later on. I remember that it might be point to that. So that can be your headcanon as we read this book. We'll see what points to it. I thought it was weird. There was something that said, he says meeting his wife and my dear friend Marie had all to do with settling him down. And if you read it normally, it seems like a weird narrator insertion. There is no real narrator in this book, but I think that was just it was like a misuse of quotes, like a quotation mark ended, but then the character kept talking or thinking, which we get a few of those as well in this book.
Oh yeah, I didn't note that. Oh yeah, wait a minute. He's thinking that. He's
thinking, yeah. So you get long thinking quotes, and we might as well address that now. This is the defining characteristic of this book: is that characters talk and think unlike anyone that has ever existed in mankind. It's we can most of us, can communicate with each other. We can converse. These characters start talking and keep talking well past the point where they would require or expect a response from their partner.
Yes, and they speak well. We'll get to that. That will slowly reveal itself.
Oh yeah,
here.
yeah. At some point, you realize that was how it was going to be the entire book.
Their dialogue is quite something. But let's meet the guys. They are both. Let's see. Dale's an ex-Marine.
Well, sure. I'll read this whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Chad and his partner were as different as night and day, and the most unlikely team you could imagine. Chad was clean-cut and 100 pounds lighter, quick on his feet and quick thinking, but the main thing Dale liked about him is that he was an ex-Marine and tough as nails. Dale was an ex-Navy SEAL, and they each spent a tour in Vietnam. And so this is something, believe it or not, that probably the most emailed thing we have ever received about. They are as different as night and day and most unlikely team. And so I'm just going to read one email from Brian. He said, I paused and imagined the most unlikely team I could. I came up with juror number 5 from 12 Angry Men and a pumpkin. Then I read that Chad and Dale were the most unlikely team because Dale is bigger than Chad and has a beard. Then I read that this is throughout the first 2 chapters. I read that both men are truckers, ex-military, black belts in karate, avid readers, enjoy Louis L'Amour westerns, currently are dressed in jeans, western shirt, black vest, boots, and baseball caps, and are both trained in CPR. So you can see how they're a comically mismatched duo based on all that things they do not have in common.
And the dialogue that I noted, there is no way to distinguish the way that they talk.
Oh, it would be a guessing game that would be just throwing darts at a dartboard blindfolded.
This is obviously all of the words are the words of Charles E. Harris with there is no character work in this at all. You're done with it now. One has a mustache. The other is, that's fat and skinny, mustache, non-mustache. That's all we get. It
is extremely disorienting. They both call each other partner. They both call each other boy. And the only way to actually tell is that they both have the very disconcerting habit of using each other's first names when there's nothing in the situation that would call for it.
Right. So they're all worried about this, and I just thought, as he describes this, Chad describes the driving that they're going to be going through to make the extra $30. It says the fog gets so thick you can slice it, and it lies sometimes about a foot off the ground. You have to drive by the telephone poles to stay in the road. You can't tell what's under the fog until you apply the brakes. With the wind blowing as it does up there, you can be off the road in a flash if you aren't careful. And speaking of the wind, if there's snow on the road, you have to be extra careful. It blows in gusts, sometimes 60 or 70 miles an hour. You've experienced the whiteouts in Michigan and Ohio. Well, when you run into one out here, it could last for hours or even days. You should not be driving through this, for the love of God.
For $30.
No one should be driving through this. You're going to kill children. You're going to run over someone's minivan and kill a family, you idiots. We've all been on freeways. We know they don't. I guess when you're driving through the mountains, but they close them off. You can't drive through that.
Right. It is the weather has concerned him unlike any other. It's like you're being told you're going to drive through, a military escort through war-torn Iraq or something in 2002. It is his fear and his uncertainty about having to check the weather for I believe, 3-day trip.
Yes.
It was just like it's the classic just. Dad on vacation, like checking it once every hour just to make sure nothing is happening. It's like, these things traditionally do not come out of nowhere. Storm of the century, what you're describing. They're usually sort of lurking on the periphery. People know a hurricane is coming. People know a 3-foot blizzard is going to happen. It just doesn't sneak up on you.
You also have this, I believe there is a trait that is common to truckers that we have known for some time. I believe that is radios. And communication is pretty much one of the 3 things I know about truckers.
Yes, exactly. They arm wrestle, and they...
They call people, they try to win back their estranged sons.
Yes, exactly.
Pretty much it, yeah.
But yeah, so he's really setting it up like this, and not only is he concerned about the weather, he's buying a lot of supplies, and this is the first exchange where I realized that the dialogue was sort of like we talked about before. Chad gets back, he's bought several bags of goods from the store, and he's handing them up to Dale, and so Dale is taking these bags and says this entire exchange without a response from Chad. You buy out the whole store? Damn it, boy. I don't know where to put all this loot. We won't have room to store it all up here. I'll have to put some under the bunk. Guess I could find a place for this canned food, though. And so Chad is just standing there holding the bags as Dale says all that to his face, like he's lapsed. His computer program has frozen as he's... I don't know where to put all this. Like he could say, well, how about under the bunk? And then Dale is puzzling it all out in real time.
But the items that he does buy, multiple books, tarps. Now, he handed up 2 bags. We don't learn whether there are more bags. Mm-hmm. I assume there are, but he's coming out carrying them, so I don't know how many bags Chad can carry, being 150 pounds. So I assumed he was just like handed him the 2 bags, and then they later describe it as books, tarps, bungee cords, food enough for several trips to the coast and back, a knife, binoculars, and it just goes on and on. Yeah. It is a magical 2 bags that he brings from Louis' truck stop or whatever.
Yes, exactly. He also says, I picked up some items for your enjoyment too. Chad answered with a slight chuckle. I can imagine, knowing you. Never addressed. We're left to assume they're dirty trucker magazines, but were never addressed. And then he says the items he questions. So yes, he hands him a Bowie knife with a scabbard. He accepts that. But then he says, okay, tell me about the books and the tarp. The rest I can figure out on my own. So he wants to know about the tarp, and then Chad's explanation for the tarp is, the tarp is in case the wind gets up and rips off one of the existing tarps. So it is exactly why you would buy a tarp. It is a spare tarp in case that happens.
Are you going to make me a cute raincoat out of this as we travel? No, it's an extra tarp. Oh, yeah. Okay. Right.
What is this spare tire for? Oh, well, that's in case we get a flat and have to replace one of the tires. Oh, all right. Meanwhile, the Bowie knife is just glistening. The other assumption that I loved, just because I saw one on the drive back from North Carolina this weekend, Dale says, we going to stop at a Yogi Bear campground along the way? And those are just a series of, a chain, I guess, of car campgrounds along freeways. But I loved that was his assumption about where they were going to spend their time, was just not even a campground, but going straight to the specific brand name of the campgrounds that you might be able to stay at as truckers.
I thought, given the sort of childishness of that question, was like, can I play with the tarp there? Would be next. Yeah. If we do, no, you leave the tarp in the package until the first tarp breaks.
Aw, guess I'll just go back with my mystery bag of porno.
Here's the, you talked about people talking and then no responses. This one's pretty good. He hands him these books. The books are all about the history of the areas we'll be traveling across. We'll pass historical sites where actual battles were fought and drive roads the Pony Express traveled. I just thought it may interest you to actually see the challenges the early frontiersmen and Indians faced after you saw the layout of the rugged terrain, not to mention the severe weather conditions. Anyway, I thought you might be interested in reading. Still, it goes on for another couple sentences with Dale just sitting there. I mean, I guess he's eating his sandwich, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's
no, he's not yet. Then he hands him the sandwich and coffee. So maybe the whole time he was like two hands trembling, like, oh my God, when is he going to hand me the sandwich and coffee?
Maybe
he's still talking. He's still talking.
It could also be just like, Homer Simpson staring with, it's just with blank eyes as someone is talking to him, and he's zoned out into his own head or something.
Yeah. Just hand me the sandwich, boy.
This is there's some more weather discussion, and it uses some of the normal human speak that we're all familiar with. I didn't tell Dale about that storm that hit the southern coast of California last night. Heavy wind and lots of rain means it will be in the form of snow when it hits the Rockies. I hate it when rain turns into the form of snow. It's just a thing that I hate. It's so we get more of that. Just not the way people talk.
What form will the rain be taking today?
So the books you were talking about was interesting, and the books play a very major role in this first section. Dale is always reading the books. For the most part, he reads them to put them to sleep. But we get a glimpse at them. He's talking about settlers, I guess, pioneers in the gold rush era. And I think Chad says this. It's impossible to say, but he says the Indian may have been cold-blooded, but you can rest assured the white man did a lot of unnecessary and cold-blooded killing of their own. They called the Indian savage, but if you read the book about the raid the cavalry made on their villages at various times, you would wonder who the savage really was.
Yes. That was one of the sentences when I first got the book, I sent to you via text. Said, I hope this blows your mind, man.
Yes, it did. It made me, I reconsidered my whole worldview, like a freshman English composition may have.
I brought it up at the time, and I may have said this before on podcast. Who knows? I'm old and my brain doesn't work anymore. But in high school, a friend of mine wrote a paper and gave it to all of us he's like, I think this is going to be pretty good. And he was writing about the Cold War, and his final sentence was, or are we all just pawns in the ultimate game of chess? And, we're just like, I'm a junior in high school, and all these yahoos and I are like, oh, you son of a... We're just like throwing tomatoes at him. And
even we knows that sucks.
Come on, man.
Wow.
He's like, I think this is going to get me the A, man. Oh, God, you suck. That's what this reminded me of.
Yeah, so many college admissions essay readers must have to experience stuff like that every single day.
Yeah, right.
But it did. I think it made me I think the alt title for the book should be Woke Truckers. I think that would be nicely adapt to 2019.
Yes. Oh, okay. So where are we on the journey? I think
they've fueled up multiple times. There's gas cards. They do the fueling process. They go to the bathroom. They check out the Weather Channel. But they get right back to driving every time. There was a thing that amused me is that Dale wound the truck up to 74 miles per hour and asked, "Do they bother you with this speed?" And I was like, well, they may for driving such a weird specific speed. But the first moment of drama comes when Chad tells Dale a story.
Oh, the story. Yes.
So the story is it takes 3 pages of the book, and the story is there was a storm and 7 truckers die. That's why I always carry extra candles. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's any more details you want to provide from there, but that is all we really get. There was the truckers froze to death inside their cabins because their trucks were not up to the horrible storm.
This was a moment where I honestly thought I mean, this is going to come up numerous times on this, but Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Sure.
It was a night. I thought it was going to be, it was a night very much like this night.
Right.
The rain had taken the form of snow, and it was blowing across. Nope, it's just a story of how he carries candles, but it has like this dark heart to it. But it's not a story.
No.
It's like a news item, like, just a...
Yeah, it's trucker lore.
Yeah, there was a very bad storm, and so carry a candle. How did you like my story?
Yeah. And his response is, I don't think I could sleep very well after a story like that, said the hardened black belt ex-Marine Vietnam vet. And so I thought maybe it was just because it was such a terrible story that he would be lying in bed being like, why did he tell me that? It had no arc. It had no drama.
Now I can't sleep. Here's the thing that made me think. Now, obviously, we know that this is going to be, there's a supernatural element to this story, but this does not bode well for how time works. Here was a sentence that got me thinking, oh God, Charles, do you even know how it works? Neither of them like to stop much, and that made the miles go by quicker. Plus, they made better time. So... his knowledge of time seems to be, the bare minimum of what you need to know about it. So I'm looking forward to how this is all going to work out.
Yeah, there are passages later where they just, they ask what time it is. Then a character says one paragraph, one continuous wall of text, and then suddenly it's 3 hours later, just as they sit there in silence. So it is going to be, we're trucking through time, but it may be a hard thing to tell exactly how much time we have trucked through.
I love that. I mean, it's coming up, but I noted that too. He asked him what time it is, and he's like, it's 0500. And it's in the same paragraph. He said, neither of them spoke for a while until... he spoke again and said, what time is it now, partner? It's 0800. So he asked him that exactly. And then he sat there silently for 3 hours.
Just lapsed into, maybe it's like suspended animation, like when astronauts in science fiction go travel many light years or something.
Right.
Well, is this something people actually do? Do truckers divide up shifts like this as they travel cross country? Like, do they do this long haul? I mean, I know Lincoln Hawks did because he had his son with him as he was doing his truck thing. But do they have just sleeping in shifts and trying to do that?
I have never heard of it, but this is Charles E. Harris. I always assumed it was solo, and then the sleeping happened. At the famous truck stops
right.
that you see. But apparently this must be a way they do it.
But they are getting that extra $30, so I guess that does bump it up into 2-man job gig territory.
Yeah, that is roast beef and coffee money there, my friend.
Well, they go into a restaurant. They stop, even though Chad bought all that extra food, but they stop at a restaurant. He says they were both dressed in jeans and Western shirts, wearing black vests and boots. They felt they fit very well with the Western scene. They were received in a manner that was friendly most always. So more of that, just standard human descriptions of ways humans behave and are received in a friendly most always manner. But this was my favorite detail. When they ordered breakfast, Chad turned the menu over to see what was on the backside. Dale, most of the menus in Wyoming have a story on the back about some battle or hardship situation. And so this is something that I was not familiar with, but we get a few pages later. He tells him, when we go through Reno, we have to stop so you can read about the Donner family and their trip across Donner Pass. That story is one that is on the reverse side of every menu you'll see. So menus out west, where we both lived for several years, are just filled with descriptions of hardships or battles, evidently.
I guess so. Facts King?
Yeah. Yes. We don't need to check Facts King, actually. Because you know how people are always worried about our modern society. We've got Alexas in our house. We've got, Siri. People are always worried that they're spying on us. And it turns out that the dark web is full of these type of exchanges. You put a Alexa in your house, and the hackers are able to tap into it and just listen in on what's happening in homes and businesses. Yeah,
really? I had always feared that. So, like, my breakfast this morning is probably already spreading across the dark web.
There's probably other podcasts that have tapped into this network and are listening to you, reading about the All-Star game last night or something.
Oh my gosh!
But so I went on and I found a restaurant in Wyoming, a fancier restaurant, just because I wanted to see if this was sort of widespread everywhere. And it turns out they have just this entire catalog of people's conversations from Wyoming restaurants up there.
Oh wow! Did you download that, or you?
Yeah.
telling
I
me?
actually no, I downloaded it. We can
good.
We can take a listen right now. Well, thanks for taking me out for dinner for my birthday, Dad.
Hey, I wouldn't miss it. I'm just glad you wanted to come spend it with your old man in Wyoming.
Your menu, sirs. Wow, this place is really fancy.
Well, you deserve it.
It's been a rough year, getting laid off and losing Alice. It's just really hard to admit she's gone. I loved her so much.
I know, but I know your Allison's looking down on you, and she's so proud of you. Hey, whatever you want off there, it's on me.
Okay. Wow, I don't even know how to pronounce some of this stuff.
Well, I don't have to look any further. Bone-in prime rib, medium rare.
Wow, that steak costs $52.
Well, hey, this is the best reviewed place in town. Oh, check the reverse here. Oh, the tale of the Krieger party.
Tale of the Krieger?
Oh, right. Yeah, this is your first time. Well, son, every restaurant in Wyoming has a story on the back about a battle or some kind of hardship situation.
Huh. It's kind of weird.
When their raft punctured on the Snake River, the Krieger family faced a 9-day hellish ordeal of hypothermia, dehydration, and hunger. While they were eventually rescued, their youngest son perished on the way to the hospital, and the parents, who blamed each other, eventually divorced. Try the stuffed pork chop with a martini.
Oh, my God.
Hey, what's on yours?
Cheyenne Hospital Fire Disaster of 1923. 27 perished in what is called... I don't want to read this.
I'll swap it with a menu off one of the other tables.
Okay, let's see what this says. Fort Laramie cholera outbreak of 1891. Diarrhea was the leading cause of death of over 200 pioneers. Oh, my God.
Now, I'll just grab another.
This one just has a picture of a vulture lurking next to an emaciated African child.
Oh, yeah, that won a Pulitzer.
Dad, I think I've lost my appetite.
Here. No pictures on this one.
The photographer who took that vulture picture, racked with guilt, killed himself 4 months after winning the Pulitzer. Why do restaurants do this here?
These hardship situations just provide, well, a little local color.
Local color? That photo was taken in the Sudan.
Let me just grab you another menu. Here.
The Battle of Little Bighorn.
See? Some local color.
Was faked, just like the Holocaust. Dad, this restaurant is terrible.
Oh, I try to do something nice. Fly you out to Wyoming and take you to dinner. You've been a real big wiener ever since your wife died.
Oh, this has nothing to do with Allison.
Maybe my wiener son, who can't handle fun facts about hardships, wants to order off the kids' menu. Waiter!
One kids' menu, sir. I'm not ordering off the kids' menu.
You don't even want to see which hardship is on the back?
They even put hardships on the kids' menu? No, I don't want to see it. They've all been awful.
Look at the damn hardship.
That's a picture of Allison. That's my dead wife. You planned this whole thing?
I've never liked you, wiener boy.
Goodbye forever, Dad.
Stuffed pork chop with a martini. That actually sounds pretty good. Waiter! Wow.
Yeah, so it was a
it's
dark
true.
moment.
That was unfortunately, I wish there was a lighter version of that. That one's dark.
Well, yeah, I guess there are lighter ones of people reading about hardships, but that was the first one I came to.
Oh, man, that is sad.
Yeah. I guess that's a way for him to provide just sort of color in what he felt was probably a seamless seamless sort of way. I mean, they're going to read about these things and then they're going to truck back in time to experience them. But I don't know.
Do you think? So this was what is it, 2000? What did you say? 2002. Is it? I mean, is it still? I guess it must be. This is a recent upload, so it's still going on.
Yeah, well, we've got, people listening all over the country. So if you're in Wyoming, please write in. Maybe send some pictures if you're taking a summer road trip to the back of Wyoming menus. Maybe Reno, too, if you're there. I was in Reno a couple months ago. I did not notice this, but then again, I was in a casino. Maybe that's maybe those are an outlier to the policy of every menu has the Donner Party story on the back of it.
Was it Reno where Johnny Cash shot a man just to watch him die?
Yeah, I guess it is a dark place.
That is very dark. So that's a menu for sure. Hey, before we get past it, I just want to point this weird thing out. Before they pull in for breakfast, I think Dale wakes up in the back and says, "What's going on? Also, he says, 10-4, partner, are we in bad weather now?" Just like, Dale, look out the goddamn window,
right, yes.
Idiot. But then he asks about the fuel. He says, "Fuel's good. Let's have some breakfast and fuel later. I don't feel like fooling with it right now," Dale said, as he wheeled into the truck stop. And then they proceed to have a long breakfast.
Yes.
What the hell is going on?
I guess that's, maybe he meant like, let's fuel after breakfast. I don't know.
Let's have some breakfast and fuel later, he said, as he wheeled into the truck stop.
Well, yeah, they're not going to be making good time anymore if they're not. If they don't. I thought they both didn't like stopping. So if they're going to fuel later, that would negate that one character trait that has been established.
That one baffled me. But here's another fact, which I need to. I don't know how we find this out, but I guess the same people. If while you're eating at the restaurant, please check this out as well. Chad says to Dale, "I forgot to tell you about the food out here. The meat seems to taste a lot fresher and more tender." Which, first of all, what the hell else have you forgot to tell him? Because they're stacking up. But wait, you tried to remember to tell him about the meat and then you forgot.
That is, we need to see if there is a Facts King page for Wyoming, because that is, I mean, that's a big one. If that is true, like that might warrant a trip.
But here's a counterfactual. Breakfast was satisfying and they were ready to go as soon as they had finished.
Wow.
So the meat was so good, he had a story about it that he'd forgotten to tell him. Then they eat the damn breakfast and it was satisfying? I expected, my God, Chad, you are absolutely right. Well, the meat is fresh and tender.
Yes. It goes around back to see the stockyard that is literally 50 feet away that they're bringing the steers over from.
I have nearly dried the tears from the terrible tragedy I read on the back of my menu because of how good the meat is here.
Well, we've all been in the experience where you're either the friend or a friend talks up a place and you finally get there and you're sort of halfway through it and you realize that he overplayed his hand. So maybe that's what happened here, and they both are just sort of letting it go without making the other guy humiliated.
Right. Dale's just being a very good friend. Like, oh no, it was very fresh, very very tender too. Yeah.
He's still
I'm
picking
satisfied.
gristle out of his teeth. Yeah. This was a very good exchange. I thought Chad had been meaning to buy new binoculars for a long time, because he lost his old pair, and then he finally did, and Dale is finally taking the first look out of them. He says, "This was great. They call each other partner, but they also call each other boy quite a bit, which is, to me, it's off-putting.
It's not. I wouldn't. What if I started doing that to you, or we started doing it to one another? That would not last long.
It would, yeah.
Before one of us pulled the other aside and was like, what is going on here?
But he says, "Damn it, boy, I sure like these. Those mountains sure have a lot of snow on them. Hey, I see a herd of cattle over there in the field. Man, this is really neat. I can almost see the brand on their butts. I sure am glad you bought these. I'm sorry." And then Chad says, this was great. "We get to Wyoming, you'll be able to see antelope, sheep, mountain sheep, that is, and all different kinds of animals." So I think Chad got a halfway through that sentence and realized he only knew 2 animals and just sort of punted on the last part. And then he got one of the animals wrong, technically, because they are mountain sheep and not just sheep.
Well, in addition to calling each other boy, partner, which he says, then he says this horrifying thing. Well, partner, you should sleep like a baby. Full tummy.
Oh, God.
Good road ahead and no bad weather in sight. Full tummy.
Yeah. I mean, it is the elephant in the room about these 2 men going through this journey together in the Brokeback Mountain fashion. I mean, this was probably right around the time that movie came out too. So it's in the back of my mind whether or not there's a little romance brewing. They have, there's a time later where they're sleeping on bunks, both talking about each other's fat asses. And so it's we'll see if anything develops there. I mean, Miss Marie is talked about, but whether she's just sort of a front for them, whether there'll be romance through time, we'll have to see.
Miss Gary Marie. Says, well, here's another clue. First of all, they don't like to stop. They'll have fuel and breakfast later, and then they stop. Fueling and showering only took 45 minutes, and they were on their way. 45 minutes?
Yes.
What? Was most of that like peeling themselves out of their tight cowboy jeans? What the hell took so long?
Yeah, I mean, you and I would never consider going into a truck stop shower, but maybe it's like this unspoken secret where there's like full spa treatments and facial peels and hot stone massages in them that warrants a 45-minute stop.
Damn, boy, that lavender oil really got me going. I have an example of the Chad sense of humor, by the way.
Oh, let's hear it.
He's the funny one, right?
Sure.
Let's see. I'll teach you, partner. You may not want to drive a truck when we get back to Atlanta. You'll be so smart. You may just quit work and start back in school. Which that's what he laughs at that. So that's how I knew it was funny.
Good. Got it. Yeah. Kind of them to specify that.
Dale laughed heartily at that.
But then they come to yet another restaurant that they have stopped at. So the time is evidently not as important as we've been initially led to believe, because this is the second place they are stopping, and this is further west. I guess this might be actual Wyoming, because one of them says, it's impossible to say who. Damn it, boy. You and I are the only ones in here without cowboy hats. These guys are for real cowboys. And then we get some more of that. The way that people always describe. I mean, not that people, but this was something I read about The Room, was that it sounded like aliens had observed people and gotten about 85% of the way there in terms of being able to imitate them. And this was a thought that reminded me of that type of thing. They're talking about Patch over in the corner, who's the pissed off Tom Selleck looking guy. Someone says he doesn't look too happy either. Dale quickly looked the other way when the cowboy made eye contact. Now this is a real Western setting, he thought. Which reads like a note that the non-existent editor might have left, or something like that. It's something that I'm constantly thinking when I walk into various settings, that this is a real setting of the type of setting that I have just entered.
Yeah, the cowboy hat thing made me think. So the definition of a real cowboy is the hat.
Yeah.
So the naked cowboy could not get more authentic than that guy. He's a real cowboy.
Any given bachelorette party in Nashville wearing like a pink studded rhinestone hat, real cowboys.
That's right. Oh, unbelievable.
But we get a good exchange here. That was this was one I was like, this type of dialogue in this book felt very familiar to me before, and this is where it clicked. Chad, of course, is preoccupied with the weather. He has, as we later come to know, CB radio, a Qualcomm device in his thing, but he's, rather than turning to the TV, he's asking local diner waitresses about the weather, known experts on that type of thing. So he says, anything we need to know about the weather west of here, miss? Chad asked. And then the waitress replies, this is all one exchange. Don't think so. Patch over there just came in from Salt Lake City. He didn't say anything about the weather. He's in for the rodeo. If there was bad weather, he would have mentioned it to me because he knows my boyfriend has to be here tomorrow to ride. He has to come from Salt Lake City, too. Only he can't leave until later tonight. Shucks, we aren't supposed to have any bad weather all week. Coffee for the both of you?
That is amazing.
It is a Hall of Famer. So, I mean, it's great. Like, it's a, when you meet a character and you learn so much about them just on their first introduction, like, we know she has a boyfriend. We know he's in the rodeo. He's coming in from Salt Lake City. We get all that. And it reminded me of one of my favorite character introductions in all of history, which is the introduction in Ghost House of the character Jim Dalen. This is a movie we did at Riff Tracks, and it quickly became the stuff of legends because he pretty much does exactly this the first time we meet him. I prepared the clip, but just to set the stage, this is the first time this character has been seen by us or any character in the movie. And I think the question he gets asked is, "Who are you?" And what he responds with, let's just listen.
Yeah, he walks into like a house that neither of them should be in, right?
Yes.
So both of them are in like unfamiliar territory. So this guy just walks in. So here's Jim Dalen.
We were just looking for
Kelly LeBrock.
that.
Oh, yeah? It's mine.
You live here?
No. We're here on vacation. My camper's parked out in the yard. I'm here with my brother and his girlfriend. Our sister Tina's with us, too. My name's Jim Dalen.
Okay, we don't need your life story.
Well,
So yeah, it really is. He's announcing off-screen characters. He's realizing he forgot other off-screen characters. He's telling them about their living situation in this house they don't live in. It's perfect.
Yeah, I thought about this exchange like she does all of this work, just a lot of spade work explaining and speculating on why Patch might not have, if there had been bad weather, Patch would have done this. Like, Patch is sitting right there. Just go ask Patch, for the love of God. Instead of doing this Columbo thing, like, well, I think if there had, he would have told me. Like,
yes, they've made eye contact. It could be like Patch could have been like Chad forgetting to tell Dale that the meat is much more tender in Wyoming.
Right.
Patch could be sitting there being like, I did forget to tell him about that storm I drove through. Ooh, that might impact the rodeo.
Yeah. So then after this, they seem to lollygag about a lot, like we've pointed out. But Chad says to Dale, "We're almost to the fuel stop, Dale. If you will fuel the truck, I'll go in and pick up some things we may need for this particular trip."
Wow.
I mean, what are you missing?
Yes.
You bought extra tarps on the off chance the tarps would rip off your truck.
A spare tarp for the spare tarp. I've just been fretting about that the entire time.
Maybe, I guess more knickknacks. I mean, that's all I can think of.
Yeah, it could be. They could just be like crushing up the knickknacks and snorting the porcelain or something. That could be their unspoken trucker habit. So maybe they need more.
My God.
So at some point in time, I was wondering, it was way too much credit to give the author, but I was wondering if Chad knew something that Dale didn't. Like, I was wondering if he maybe knew about the time travel, and so he was stocking these things up and being like, I'll explain it to you later. Like, there's a character in Stephen King's 11/22/63 book where the diner owner has been traveling back in time to get cheap meat, actually, and he knows about this, but the main character doesn't know about it yet. So there's this sort of unspoken thing. But that I don't believe that is what's going to happen. I think Chad is just being incredibly paranoid and weird about this trip.
Yeah, I think obviously the author didn't know how to, set up the fact that they were stocked for this trip.
Right.
Which, if he had thought about it, you could have just said later as they went back in time. They could have said, well, it's a good thing I bought a bunch of stuff because we're going back
Yes.
There's no reason to. It just is so bizarre. And speaking of, did you look up the Qualcomm thing looms large?
It
very
does.
large.
Very.
And I looked it up. Obviously, this is a tough thing to search because all they say is the Qualcomm. Now, I know Qualcomm because their sticker is on the back of every cell phone that exists.
Yes.
And they have stadiums, and they're a San Diego company, so you and I We're familiar with their 10,000 buildings that were seemingly in every area of San Diego. Mm-hmm. But what is the Qualcomm?
The Qualcomm,
of a trucker. I don't know. I think it's a location device, but because they have a radio, so it's not a radio.
Yeah, I guess it could be an emergency beacon, or just a early GPS. But yeah, I guess it's like you'd say the Garmin in your car. Like you might say that. But they are for the amount of explanation you get about menus and tender meat. This is something that is left unsaid for us non-truckers to puzzle about.
It's a curious, it seems like something you would really want to drill down and brag about.
Yes.
Seeing as, like you said, we got 2 paragraphs on I-90 to I-65 to I-70.
Well, yeah, and it would be a good thing for Chad to be like, Dale could be like, "What's that?" And he'd be like, Dale was a rookie trucker. Like, a lot of non-truckers don't know about this, Dale, but this here's the most important device us truckers ever used. Like the Qualcomm was able to, those idiots driving around normal cars wish they had one of these things.
Yeah, because the whole thing is Chad explaining to Dale about the West, which Dale has been completely. He knows more about Southeast Asia than he knows about a couple hundred miles north of him.
Yes. Dale has never been past I-80 is what they say, which is, I believe, the interstate that goes into San Francisco. So, I mean, he could easily have been to many of these places in Arizona, Colorado, Utah, but just he hasn't been to the Pacific Northwest, essentially.
I guess. Now, I don't have any more notes until the supernatural occurs. Do you?
Yeah, I wrote everything sort of dies. The radio, the CB, and the Qualcomm. And they start not to notice any other traffic on the road. There's no more cars or trucks that they're passing. And I thought this was a funny exchange. He looked at his watch and thought, "Oh, well, that easily explains the traffic. It's 10:30, and I'm the only idiot on the highway. But that's Eastern time. It's only 8:30 out here, and that's early. Not only that, it still doesn't explain why nothing works." So he's looking at his watch. He's thinking in real time, oh, but of course I've traveled 2 time zones. And then he's coming to the conclusion, this doesn't explain anything that I've just tried to explain. But yeah, they then stop at a truck stop to go in to try to use the truck stop phone. And Dale gets back, shivering from the cold. All the phones are dead. I couldn't even get a dial tone. There was no one around. It's more like a ghost area instead of a rest area. This was said with a touch of fear and concern in his voice, which is a great modifier that I think ascends into said the robot pimp disdainfully turf. Add that on to any other sentence in literature, and it really changes the tone of everything.
I had read it in a jaunty manner. And all the phones are dead. I couldn't even get a dial tone. There was no one around. It's more like a ghost town. Oh, this was said with a oh, damn it. Why did I wait? I went in so hard on that.
Right, yeah. Mr. President, the bombs have started to fall, was said with a touch of fear and concern in his voice.
So they see a herd of buffalo. We get the, yes. By the way, this was the time discussion. What time do you have, Dale? I have 0500 U. Same as you. That means it's 0300 here. And about 3.5 hours till sunup. And then Dale didn't answer and Chad became very silent. Every horrible thought, blah, blah, blah. Time was passing very slowly.
Don't blah, blah, blah there. Don't blah, blah, blah there. Every horrible thought in the world came to their minds. Every horrible thought.
Yes.
So they were dreaming about cannibalistically devouring their grandmother. They were licking a pile of dog poo. Like every horrible thought. They dreamed about scars from radiation from the A-bombs that fell.
Opening up their cooler and finding every tchotchke shattered into a million pieces.
Right. Yes. Wyoming restaurants being out of the tender meat and having meat from a eastern cattle ranch being trucked in instead. So yeah, every horrible thought.
Right. So time passed, and then Chad asked Dale the first question in a while. What time have you got, Dale?
Well, so 3 hours passed, but I guess if they were thinking every horrible thought, that is it's a lot of time to sort of puzzle those things out.
That is very time consuming. And then you would have, every horrible thought would include variations on that, like my entire family killed except Aunt Martha.
Sure.
Now I'm going to think about every family member killed and Aunt Martha killed. That's another horrible thought. So it is very time consuming.
Every family member killed, Aunt Martha reduced to a vegetative state, and she doesn't have insurance, so it's going to bankrupt me.
Yes, and then we see the buffalo herd.
Oh man, yep.
Crossing,
Yeah, they saw three Indians and a cowboy, and then they finally they see a buffalo herd thundering across the road. It's a majestic sight, and we get another great alien pretending to be human sentence. After the buffalo have traversed the road, Chad eased the truck forward. No one spoke for several moments, trying to absorb the scene they had just witnessed. Buffalo were supposed to have been gone from this area long ago, especially numbers of this size. Chad finally made his statement of reasoning. And that's, I find myself making statements of reasoning all the time. That is something that I do many times a day. And Chad's statement of reasoning is, Dale, we just witnessed something that hasn't happened for 200 years or more. What a statement of reasoning.
Oh, please. I think it's worth reading the whole thing. Please go on. This is so their truck all these weird things are happening. They see a cowboy and Indian, but they'd seen real cowboys, so that wasn't very striking. That was just look at that. There's guys riding over there. Then they see the buffalo, and then he makes a statement of reasoning. I think you should read the whole thing.
Okay. I think this is it. To my knowledge, there aren't that many buffalo in the whole country. Is that the whole thing?
Yes, that paragraph.
To my knowledge, there aren't that many buffalo in the whole country. From all I've read about this area, there are only a few dozen in the entire state, and they are in parks and zoos. There has to be a logical answer. They had to come from somewhere. Surely someone else saw them, because they would certainly be too hard to contain or hide without some news agency finding out about an enormous herd of that size. They would keep this news on the television for weeks. Weeks. And so imagine any scandal we've had in the past few years politically where it is wiped from the news within 48 hours with the news cycle we have now. And here is him speculating that a guy hiding a herd of buffalo in Wyoming would be dominating national headlines for weeks.
Well, his conclusion about it, I'm fairly certain they've been hidden on someone's ranch for years to build up a herd of that size. And then speculating again about the media, we'll surely read about it in the paper soon.
Yes.
So that was all one paragraph, everything we just said. After seeing a herd of buffalo go in front of their truck on a road out west, and I mean, let me just rewrite that entire paragraph. If that happened to us, we're driving a car, we see a herd of buffaloes. Holy shit! There. That's
right. Yes. Right. Yeah, it jumps straight to essentially a guy who has Jurassic Park for buffalo, who has been building up a herd for years secretly, and then one day decides, you know what? I should just let him thunder across Interstate 80 as my way of sort of revealing this absurd project that I've been devoting the past 3 years to mad science up this herd of buffalo.
And it's not just speculation. He's fairly certain that's what happened.
Yes, that's his logical answer.
They've been hidden on someone's ranch. I mean, they could be seen by satellite. So I don't know how you hide a thundering herd of buffalo.
Some guy is dropping off. He's like, "Hey, I got that 8-ton of alfalfa weekly delivery for you, Johnny." He's craning his neck around like the rancher. The rancher's like, "Well, you don't need to. Hey.
Just don't look. There's nothing there. Nothing.
Ignore that thunderous sound that's constantly looming in the background whenever you drop off this absurd amount of hay that you're delivering." But
actually, I have a theory about how he kept them hidden. Cowboy hats. So he's just like, wow, a lot of guys on your property, a lot of real cowboys there. Yeah. Yep, that's all you need to know.
Or this could be where those restaurants are getting that tender meat from.
That's right.
There's a reason you don't get it anywhere else.
So then the second supernatural thing, something I'd never heard about before, thunder snow.
Thunder snow, yeah. I feel like that is something that maybe is something that I've read elsewhere, but it's not a common occurrence.
I think it's it's probably a phrase like heat lightning. It's not a real thing, but I mean, I guess thunder snow. I guess there can be snow while it's thundering. I'm sure that's true, but I've just never heard the term.
Well, it probably isn't very unique because it has a unique effect on these two truckers' constitution. It says, before opening the door, a long streak of lightning flashed across the sky, followed by a loud clasp of thunder. It seemed to linger forever and shook their very existence.
The clasp of thunder did.
Yeah. Yes. And so, yeah, I think that's the first settle down moment of this book. Is just these guys, again, have been to Vietnam, earned black belts, ex-Marines, and then this one clasp of thunder and lightning shakes their very existence.
So this is the first settle down. That's true. You didn't give a settle down to the every horrible thought in the universe went through their mind.
That's true. I guess that actually warranted one. But there was also, I didn't note it, but there was a Chad issued one to Dale at some point in time. I forget if Dale was getting a little too like humorous or joking around too much, and Chad did tell him to settle down.
Yeah, I think. Is it going to come to blows then when he says, we'll just have to wait for the snowplow to clear it up? What time do you have, Dale? And he goes, damn it, boy. I still have 0800. But if someone ever said that to me, I would instinctively punch them in the face.
My guy who lived 3 doors down, Chris Emery, growing up, his father, I mean, into middle school, would refer to him as boy, and it struck me as very funny. I caught up with him for the first time in decades, and I asked him how he was doing, and I was like, I just always enjoyed how your father would refer to you as boy, even as a 14-year-old. It's again Homer Simpson-y. So yeah, it stands out when people do that to non-boys.
Was it that he had a lot of brothers and sisters that he just couldn't be bothered to remember, or
he was younger than his brother? His brother was like in high school when we were in middle school, so it wasn't like he was that different.
Okay. So that's the end of that's the exciting end of chapter 1.
Yeah, it is. They've gone through a supernatural thing. They've now seen Buffalo, and I was thinking that we might get a more of a. Again, my impression of this book was that they were going to do sort of a Back to the Future thing and sort of activate this time travel willingly, but it appears they've just been spirited back without their consent.
Yeah. Oh, so you thought they would be the ones doing the changing of time?
Yeah, again, it was just sort of my own ignorance, but I assumed they would have a time machine just because I assumed the author would sort of just be influenced by that Back to the Future trope.
So you thought that like Chad would run into Dale's sad apartment with one chair and a card table, and he'd like be wearing futuristic looking goggles, and go, Dale,
yes,
it's me,
I've
Chad.
done it.
What are you wearing? That suit is made from aluminum foil. No, it's a nanotechnology. Come with me.
Yes, that's what I thought was going to happen.
Oh, damn. Well.
And I thought Dale was being coy. I thought Chad was being coy about it. But oh well, that's my own prejudices are showing. So.
Oh, you actually did think from the beginning, I'm stocking up because we're going through time?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't even smart enough to. That never even occurred to me.
All right. Well, it's in the chapter break. We've only got 2 chapters this time, so right now is when we are. All right. Yeah. So we got 5 excerpts, either trucking through time excerpts from later in the book or fan fiction. And like I said, they stepped up their game around. So good luck. Number 1, Jim Eagle. So yeah, we have not. We have not read farther in the book, so we have. There's pretty much 2 characters. We're introduced to 2 more characters at the end of chapter 2, but so we don't know if any of these people are real or not. Jim Eagle signaled for Chad and Dale to come over. Below them was a man wearing overalls and a straw hat, crouched at the bed of the river, sifting its waters through a sieve. Chad turned to Dale and said, "This person must be a 49er, one of the people who headed west during the gold rush of 1849 in the hopes of striking it rich in the untamed American frontier. Maybe he knows where Patch took Slim Fox." "I agree also," said Dale.
Wow, that's it?
That's it.
Oh, boy. Okay. I'm going to say that that's fan fiction, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because at the end of chapter 2, we've already met a patch, but there's another patch, and I'm not sure if it's the same one. So I think they're using the patch to get me to bite, but I'm not biting. I'm gonna let that hook drift by me.
All right. Here's number 2. You and I have just killed Custer by saving Slim Fox. I wouldn't put it like that, partner, but if this is the case, then we have been put here to change the course of history. Because Slim Fox, if he is Sitting Bull, must win the Battle of Little Bighorn, or the whole complexion of historic events could and would be altered had we not saved his life. Maybe we're supposed to stop the general from attacking Dark Horse anyway. It sure looks that way to me, partner. When we get to town, we'll get a newspaper and check up on the local events to be sure we're approaching the situation properly.
Oh, said the robot pimp disdainfully. I think that's real.
Yeah, all right. You think that they're going to be killing Custer and changing the course of history?
Well, given their wokeness and all of that, yeah, I think so.
All right, number 3. Hey, partner, what's got you so hot and bothered? Chad asked. That squaw, Dale said. Do you mean that peck on the cheek she gave you? She was probably just surprised to meet a white man who didn't try to rape her first thing. A peck on the cheek is no big deal, Chad said. What if Miss Marie saw that? Do you think she would think it was no big deal? Said Dale. Chad thought it over. I guess you're right about that. Don't worry, partner. Your secret is safe with me.
Yeah, they've stepped it up. This is tough. It's flip of the coin. That's fan fiction.
Okay. Number 4. Dale, can I ask you something strange? Partner, everything is so strange right now, I don't think anything you could ask could surprise me. Why have you been calling the boy Little Beaver? Dale looked a bit sheepish and said, well, my friend, I think it's because he looks a little bit like the beaver, you know, from Leave It to Beaver. Chad grinned. That was one of my favorites, too, growing up. Come to think of it, I think Miss Marie looks a bit like Mrs. Cleaver. 10-4, smartass, Dale quipped. Just for that, you can take the next watch.
Holy cow. Well, I'm going to say that's real because I hope it's real so that Miss Marie does look like.
I don't know what Mrs. Cleaver looks like.
I mean,
June Cleaver?
Look it up right now. Yeah. Just a typical, sort of severe.
First lady-ish, yeah. Coronet mother. Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. She looks how like mothers used to look like grandmothers. And number 5.
All right.
With the Donner Summit well behind them, Dale was able to get up to 55 miles an hour after the cautious, slow speeds in the Sierra Nevadas. Good idea to keep it at the truck speed limit, partner, even if everyone else is going 80 mph, Chad said. They'll bother you if you go any faster. Dale asked Chad for more advice about their route. Now you will take the I-80 all the way, Chad said. But things will get hairy near the I-580, 880 interchange. There are a lot of bridges the closer we get, and traffic gets really heavy in Berkeley just before the Bay Bridge. Are we going to see the Golden Gate Bridge? Dale asked. No, that's on a different freeway, and it isn't the best route for trucks, Chad said. Making his way west toward the Bay Area, Dale began to think about his home and Miss Marie. Thinking about the weird situation he and his partner had just been through, he was okay to not see the Golden Gate Bridge as long as he was able to see Miss Marie again.
Well, I'm going to say it's fan fiction, and I'm just so glad that Miss Marie looms very large for everyone as it did for me.
All right, so the first one, maybe this person must be a 49er, was fanfic. You got that right. That was written by Matt. Number 2, you and I have just killed Custer by saving Slim Fox. Real. That was real. You got it right.
Oh, yes.
So we're gonna be wading into some heavy turf later in the book. These two are literally going to change history and intervene in the Battle of Little Bighorn.
Holy cow.
Biting off more than he might be able to chew, no matter how meat the tender is. How tender the meat is. Number 3, you said fanfic. That is fanfic.
Yes!
Written by Douglas. Yes. The kiss from the squaw. Number 4, you said real. That was Mrs. Cleaver. That is fanfic. That was someone who I mean, it was good. It was well done, and
Yep.
I am sure that Charles E. Harris is well aware of Leave It to Beaver. It's probably a cultural touchstone for him, but it was fake. Number 5, you said fanfic. That was Going to the Golden Gate Bridge. That was fanfic. So you got 3. That was written by Kelly. You got 3 out of 5 correct this time.
No, I got 4 out of 5. The last one was fanfic, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, but you said. Yep, you're right. You're right. You got all. The only one you didn't get right was Mrs. Cleaver, and that was sort of because you wanted it to be. So, yeah, people stepped up their games. There was a lot more ones that I did not even read, but maybe we'll read them next time. But yeah, keep them coming, folks. That was a well done.
And it's disturbing to me that the person who wrote the fanfic about Mrs. Cleaver looked into my psyche and went, "I know it. I know what Mike wants. I know his desires." Oh, wow, that's fantastic. This one seems like it will make a lot of good fanfic.
Oh man,
because anything is up for grabs.
Yeah, it's a style that's going to be sort of like, I mean, the other styles we've gotten are Sean Penn's alliteration, Thrash's repetition of key phrases, Ernest Cline's cultural touchstones, and so those are the things people imitate. The dialogue is clearly going to be a big one here, but I'm looking forward to what else people pick up on as we move forward.
Hey, speaking of Sean Penn's new book, I had an idea. See, I'll run it past you, and I'll run it past our listeners. We do that as a Patreon thing, but you have to pay to opt out of it. So I feel like that we could give a lot of money to charity if we did that book.
Oh man, yes.
And so we will send this to your inbox. But if you want to opt out,
yeah,
send
drive to houses and blare it through a bullhorn outside your house.
Yes.
Oh man.
All right, so chapter 2.
Chapter 2, yeah. Chapter 2 begins with them. They're taking a rest. Their truck has ceased to operate. Nothing is working. None of the electrical systems. The snow is piling up from the thunder snow, and they are not sure what is going on. But they're getting kind of nervous. But the first thing I had was them deciding to bunk down for the night, and this was the sort of exchange that reminded me of Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal. You can have the bottom bunk. I don't want to chance your big ass falling on me. Damn it, boy, you're too kind. If Miss Marie heard you say that to me, she'd whip your scrawny little ass, Dale answered, making as much light of the situation as possible. So they're having a good laugh during this the situation that is almost identical to the 3-page horror story he told him about truckers freezing to death that chilled Dale to his bones and made him not able to sleep. But they're still having a good time.
Well, this is the one that prompted me to think about, once again, this exchange of dialogue is just so bizarre. One thing for sure, Dale, if we hadn't had the binoculars and you hadn't been watching, we could have been on our way down one of these deep ravines or gorges. And, a paragraph before he responds, "That's for sure, partner." And we've made a lot of fun of this dialogue, and it's so I went back and I looked. We're on season 8 of this podcast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You and I have known each other for years. I mean, we're the Chad and Dale of podcasting. Let's be honest.
I have thought that, yeah.
Yeah,
and I weirdly thought that last month for the first time, Brian.
And I hope our dialogue isn't as sort of clunky and robotic.
Oh, I can't possibly imagine.
Well, look, a little self-examination never hurt anyone.
Yeah,
a little self-reflection, a little, take the log out of your own eye before you start criticizing someone else. And so I went back and looked. Our first podcast that we did, I took extensive notes. Unfortunately, I didn't record our pre-show banter, but I did take notes on it. And I wrote it down.
Weird.
And yeah, that is weird, isn't it?
It was a weird thing that you did.
Well, I mean, it could have. It's historical, and it could have been.
Okay, yeah, it's true.
It's important stuff
for the ages.
If I ever need to upload it to the dark web for someone else doing a podcast, I wanted to make sure that I had it. And so, unfortunately, again, I had not pressed record yet. So I assembled the 372 players.
You assembled?
I did. I fired
behind my back.
well, I wouldn't say completely behind your back. I fired them.
Fired them?
And I told them not to tell you. I guess that is behind the back,
That's
isn't
very
it?
much behind my back. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I guess I should have been more upfront about that. But
that's why none of them came to my potluck dinner this weekend.
Well, look, on the positive side, we are no longer bleeding $5,000 a week on their salaries and their food and their stipends and all of that. Yeah, they were pretty, wow. I mean,
those guys sucked, actually, come to think of it.
I mean, every week, 300 pounds of tender Nebraska meat. It was getting to be quite a bill. I fired them, and I rehired a cast.
Well, hopefully you gave them due diligence. You found the best people available.
No, I hired my son, and
nepotism.
And I found a friend of yours who
a friend of mine
who you have a deep grudge with, and I got them to record the dialogue that I had recorded before our podcast. So before
this is intricate as hell.
What intricate? It's as straightforward as you could possibly get. I merely hired my son and your friend to record the dialogue that I had written down before our first podcast. What is so hard to understand about this?
Tale as old as time.
It is. So let's just let's listen to that now. This is the 372 players talking our words. Here
Boy, Connor, it sure is cold out there. Good thing we're in this studio doing this podcast.
That's for sure, Mike. And since we're going to be spending so much time in here, I sure am glad you're likable and funny.
And I'm glad you have a beard, Connor. Now, how did you get to the studio?
Well, Mike, I took I-35 to I-94 to 394 to 62 and then south on I-69 to 55. Now, let's see what you brought for the recording.
Connor, I got some microphones and a soundboard and some meat and some underpants and some books about podcasts and a bucket for us.
A bucket?
Oh, that's right. You've never podcasted up this way before. Gets pretty rough, partner. Sometimes two guys will put a bag over your head, throw you in a truck with nothing but a bucket to go in, and make you podcast for money.
Gosh, you're right. I'm just reading the first chapter of this book on podcasting, and it confirms it. Well, let's get to it.
Sure thing. Why don't you take a nap and back, and I'll take the first shift of this podcast.
Great. You do our podcast into the Qualcomm and wake me in 8 hours, Mike.
Will do. Attention, podcast people. Podcast people. This is 372 pages we'll never get back. Do you read?
So it's odd. It's odd that we don't know what a Qualcomm is because we were doing our podcast into one.
Wow, yeah. I mean, probably like pre-show jitters, just sort of like talking without realizing what you were saying.
I guess I forgot. It's weird that I forgot what a Qualcomm is. Anyway.
So that was my friend Brian?
That was your friend Brian. Yeah.
I can't believe
he was happy to portray you in that way. I don't know what that does to your friendship, but there you are.
Yeah, he does this local show called Seriously 7 Days that I have appeared on numerous times as a guest, and now he does and betrays me like this behind my back. I can't believe this.
Well, I'm going to call my son after this podcast and go, that's what you think I sound like? So,
right.
We're both.
His was spot on for me, though. I have to give him credit for that. Wow. Well, all right. So like let those without sin cast the first stone. I guess we have no right to criticize the dialogue.
That's right. Yeah, we are not dropping these bone mows every second. We're also pretty mundane at times. So,
well, having said that, let's criticize some more dialogue.
Yes, indeed.
So Dale goes outside to pee. Yeah. Well, Dale thought, I've got to take a leak, and I don't want to wake Chad. He's thinking this. He has to be tired from driving the last few hours in the winds. That's taxing on anyone. I'll just ease out and try not to wake him. So he goes outside. He takes care of business. I believe they refer to it as squirting in the dirt.
Yeah, I forgot to. I had that as a note, and I thought, I'm sure that will be a dumb sentence of the week, but how can we not mention that? A squirt in the dirt. It reminds me, and again, this will come up during this thing, so get used to it. Roadhouse.
Yeah.
I gotta go. What does he say? Like, I gotta go drain the lizard or something.
Drain
like
the
that.
main vein.
Drain the main vein. And on the extras of the DVD for that, the late what was his name? The guitarist and singer
Jeff Healey.
Jeff Healey. The late Jeff Healey said he was just given all these lines about like they needed to take a break for the shooting, and so like just say I gotta go drain the lizard, or the white snake's gotta spit in the he's like he's just like I felt I had no idea I'd never heard these before. He's like, it's a pretty embarrassing line that ends up in there. I gotta drain the main thing.
Wow, yeah, it is.
So that reminded me of that squirt in the dirt and then finish my business.
Sure. Yeah, it actually sounds more authentic than any of the other trucker dialogue as far as you imagine that's a sort of slang they're tossing around with their Smoky Bears and honeypots and all that stuff.
Right. We're in deep doo-doo now is another one.
Yes, that is a good one. That is as they're snowed in, death is closing in. They've lit candles for warmth. One of them responds, "We're in deep doo-doo now." But I liked how he pees and then he comes inside and he's shivering. He thinks, I won't do that again. Next time I'll just pee out the window. And then it says, shortly before dark, Dale told Chad of his experience outside. So the going outside to pee gets reclassified as an experience. And then Chad says, next time, partner, use one of those freezer bags and just toss it out the window. It would save you a lot of trouble. Chad says, laughing at him, now you tell me. I forgot we had them. Thanks a lot. Anything for my pal, but if you have to take a crap, I don't know what to tell you, Chad answered with a roar of laughter. And so it's like, well, that's going to become an issue very soon, Chad. Like, you've already been here for like 8 hours. Like, you've been eating this, diner food. Like, maybe you should be thinking about that instead of hypothetically suggesting it, then laughing your head off.
Are they gallon freezer bags? Because I might be able to pull that off. That was a sentence that I think I put on our Patreon. Speaking of our Patreon,
oh, nice.
People
Yeah.
check into our Patreon. Way back while we were still doing the Mister. That was a little teaser.
That was just something you flipped randomly to.
Yes, that was the first thing that I saw. And boy, it pays off handsomely.
Yes. Yep, they're trapped and fearing their own deaths. They might never see Miss Marie's embrace again, but deep doo-doo and crapping in bags get some good honest laughs. What else do we got here? Chad says, I keep thinking there's a logical explanation to all this, but everything keeps on happening to confuse me all the more. Matter of fact, I'm totally confused and a little concerned and certainly not sure of anything.
Oh, you know what I put after that? It made me think of because of this is the season right now, even if you're not listening to it, the debates and all of that. If I'm ever in a presidential primary debate, that's going to be my opening pitch. Help me connect with the common man. Matter of fact, I'm totally confused, a little concerned, certainly not sure of anything.
Who am I? Why am I here?
That's exactly right. Speaking of, he just died yesterday. Ross Perot, that is.
Oh, that's true. Wow, yeah. I forgot that was his candidate. That's one of the classic guys who, like Gerald Ford, falling down the stairs, then is a bumbling oaf for the rest of his life. That guy shows up.
He was known as being super athletic and was a football star and all of that.
And Stockdale was like a Purple Hearts hero, well respected, and then he's just clearly the only thing I know about him is that he said, "Who am I? Why am I here?"
Right.
And then everyone spent weeks laughing at him.
And then you read his life, and it's like the most harrowing and heartbreaking thing. He's like an absolute hero.
And then Ross Perot. I saw a Twitter poll less than 3 weeks ago. Like, do not look. Is he still alive or not? And I don't I don't remember what the final numbers were, but I knew he was because I think we had done that 3 months ago, looking him up.
Yes. All right. So Dale and Chad, now their fate is cast. They are in this truck. It's the snow is still blowing, right?
Yes, on this side of the mountain.
Oh, is it not blowing on the other side of the mountain?
So they get out of the truck eventually. It takes them. They realize they're going to have to make a move on. They walk over and like the temperature increases by like 40 degrees or something.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
And they're in a place where it has not been snowing. I guess I didn't write down the specifics about this, but they discover a cave, and they enter the cave and they find a little Indian boy who is sitting there who has been brutally horsewhipped. And is in what they diagnose as a coma, but he's got a fever, and that's sort of that's where the rest of the action of this chapter is spent dealing with this boy.
And this was a big frustration for me. A child, he gives so much detail in other places. How old is the damn child? What is the range when you say, "Hey, I have a child"? And I never say another word. How old do you assume?
Right. That's
my child is a month old, right? I have a child.
Sure.
My child, when you say I have a child, he's not going to be 20.
Right, true.
Maybe 12? Is that the outer range of saying there's a child in here?
Sure, yeah. You say I'm going to drop them off or they're going to after-school childcare. That would probably be up to the teenage years. That would be acceptable, but it could also be your 3-year-old.
All right, so 0 to 12, giving the upper range is probably, maybe I'm being a little, but you still might refer to a child as that age.
Sure.
The chapter goes on and on without ever giving us any indication of how old this child is. It irritated me. I'm just like, just come on, man. One sentence.
Right.
Like, man, he looks to be 3, Chad. You said it, buddy. No kidding, partner. But
right.
Nope. So
instead, they're speculating, boy, I bet if I had peanut butter and jelly, you would really enjoy eating that, Indian boy.
Yes.
They're diagnosing that, what he likes to eat. They're diagnosing his coma, and then...
well, we get a clue, but here's what also irritated me. Well, he is in no condition to have built a fire. Okay, so now I know that he's not. But he is, if he is an Indian boy, their term, I don't know, 3 would they teach a child? So I'm like, all right, 3 to 12.
Right. But then again, you see someone passed out unconscious in a cave with the fire burning. It might not be my initial sense that he built the fire himself,
right?
And I think they do speculate that someone was with him, went for help.
Yeah, but again, just give me the age. I loved this thing about Dale discovered something about the boy. Chad comes back into the cave. He goes, "Hey, I discovered this about the boy. He's an Indian because he's dressed in a buckskin shirt, pants, and moccasins." And I thought, what if I said to you, "Hey, Connor, I discovered something about the guy in this Chili's restaurant because he's dressed in the Chili's waiter's outfit and has a name tag on that reads Gary, and underneath that, wait staff, and he came to our table and took our order. My discovery is that he's a waiter."
The other thing that I liked was it takes me back to the and many other animals. Dale had a lot of medical training in the Navy and knew CPR. Chad knew CPR also and knew some life-saving techniques. What else is besides CPR? I guess the Heimlich maneuver, like the life-saving techniques. The list: CPR, Heimlich maneuver. That's all.
Yeah. So Chad is doing CPR on him. He's like, "Okay, here. Why don't I do it? I know a couple other life-saving techniques."
Yeah. It's like, I like David Bowie. I've listened to Ziggy Stardust. Yeah, sure, you're going to go with the most popular one. They do cover the entrance with Chekhov's extra tarp, so it was good that they had that. And then it didn't take long before he lights the candles. Again, they pay off. It didn't take long before the cave was nice and warm. They were both proud of their accomplishment, spelled wrong, yes, but had to get the boy taken care of before boasting about what they had done with so little to work with. So these two idiots, whose, again, death seems very imminent, are just beaming with pride and puffing their chest out, and considering even boasting about what they've done.
But who are they going to boast to? They both did it. Like, hey, Chad, we're saving this kid pretty nice, right? Huh? Yeah, we sure are. Like, oh, God, I wish there was someone else around. Damn it.
Right. Yeah, they're both just filing it away for Miss Marie when they get back.
We also get another little bit of dialogue that is, the series' first conversation with Google Assistant. I have no answers to anything, especially anything concerning the boy. That's what you say when you're tending to a horse-whipped Indian boy in a cave.
Yeah, like you figure like they might be just reduced to sort of sputtering Rex and, get yourself together, man. Like,
what the hell is happening? I don't know, but save this boy.
But this, they, say what you will. This is not a cynical book. These characters and the author both appear to be good-natured in general. So I want to point that out, so it's not like we're just crapping on everything here. But
no. In fact, I was going to bring that up. Remember, one of the reasons that we did this, I think it was an Amazon review where the guy said, "No, it's not a good book." I think it was a guy who said,
sure.
But it is completely sincere and non-cynical.
Yes.
And I think that was one of the things that swayed us. Like, okay, good. I mean, that's
right.
That's what
Exactly.
Like. Yeah.
It's not going to be the dripping contempt of Sean Penn or the disinterest of the Shatlart. But we get some of those examples here. Chad goes to get supplies. He says, "I shall return," and hopefully with some good news. So that was a trucker speak. Truckers are always saying things like "I shall return."
Right.
But then Dale is sort of kneeling next to him, and it says he sincerely wanted the boy to survive and be well again. And then when Chad comes back, Dale says, "I feel so damned helpless." "Don't feel that way, Dale. We can only do so much, and we've done all we possibly can." "You are exactly right, Chad. All we can do is our best."
Yeah.
So they are, they're good-natured and they're sort of puzzling this out. But it reminded me of the first time that William Hung auditioned for American Idol and did absolutely the worst possible job, utter garbage, and had said something like, "I tried my best and that's all I'm able to do." And Paula Abdul is like, "I'm so proud of you, William, for doing the worst singing anyone has ever seen." But at least he had a positive attitude.
Yes, that's it's funny because my youngest son is I won't be embarrassing him by this, I don't think, because he was a little kid. And
Not the one that was now employed in our player troupe.
Oh no, he'll be coming up soon. He's on the payroll. Don't worry about that. No, he saw the original. He was a little guy when he saw William Hung with Bridget. I don't know. She was just watching, had something on, cooking or something, and he saw it. And he came in crying. It's like, well, they're being so mean to that guy. He's trying his best. He just sang.
Oh,
She's
man.
like, oh, that's let's turn off the TV.
Yeah. Wow, that's an unexpected reaction.
Yeah, he was all in on William Hung.
Well, yeah. So people trying their best. It's it's good to some degree, but the author was probably trying his best too, and this was the result. But
as we've said many times, look, all of that stated, the reason that we're doing this podcast, we get this a lot at Riff Tracks. I just want to address it. This is a thing that never comes up. You get a lot of heat for like, hey man, this guy went out and made a movie. You didn't make a movie. You're just making fun of it. It's easy. It's like, yes, that is true as far as it goes. But this standard is never applied to someone who serves you a meal and gives you salmonella and there's rocks and sand in it and hair. You don't go, hey, look, just eat it, man. The guy tried his best. He doesn't have any talent, nor does he seem to have any desire to do good. So I'm just getting that out of the way. Of course, the guy is probably a decent man who left behind a decent legacy and a good family, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about his book.
Sure, and it amuses us, and we enjoy it far better than the one that the Oscar-winning millionaire wrote. So, like,
Right.
there's different standards here. You can enjoy reading something; it can be because it's silly and ridiculous, or you can hate something because it's just cynical and awful. So, there's different levels of this.
Yes, and I have been enjoying it, in fact.
Speaking of enjoying something, Chad looks over at Dale and realizes he knows he's asleep. And he says, I guess he's dreaming of something he and Marie are doing or about to do, with a smile like that on his face. So Dale's just drifting off as horny as hell while he's, maybe Miss Marie's putting on her trampling stilettos or, is a new pair of fuzzy handcuffs or something.
Yeah, because then I think I tag on something that I made that note. And then a little bit later, now this is novel, 21st century, and Chad and I will have to fight a pack of wolves in order to get back to the truck. He thought, damn it, Marie, where are you when I really, really need your logic?
Wow.
Who is Marie? This is the most fascinating character. This is Godot, right?
She's one of those people who, like, they're like, she earned her degree in physics from MIT, and then started working in the adult film industry. Like one woman's interesting journey.
Yes.
I did like the reaction of wolves howling. It was chilling and scary and very lonely. And then his reaction was to think, "This is novel." Like, okay, you're going to die. Yeah, sure. I guess that's novel. You've never experienced it before. And then the casual, well, it's the 21st century. Like, okay, this really laying it on thick there.
Yeah, the asides to themselves get even more bizarre. Coming up, Dale cracks himself up.
Yes.
Can't tell Chad I fell asleep on Fire Watch, with quotes around it.
Yeah.
He'd have me court-martialed. Hell, I've still got a sense of humor. Where is that in evidence? I don't know, but
true. Yes. And he says, I may make it after all. And then Chad woke up when he heard Dale laughing to himself. So the laughing at he'd have me court-martialed provokes laughter to himself loud enough to wake up his sleeping, exhausted buddy.
Which, by the way, shades of the Mister. Sometime later, Dale woke with a jerk.
Oh, wow.
To start a paragraph, which is, I think we had 4 or 5 of those in the Mister of he woke with a start, she woke with a start, or a
Did
jerk.
he snap one eye open?
Yes.
I realized what that reminded me of once we stopped talking about it. It was like Ren and Stimpy when Stimpy is doing something to irritate Ren, and Ren just pops like one bloodshot eye open to like twitching at Stimpy. That was how Alicia is waking up every day.
And then the freeze frame close up of every blood clot in his eye.
Yeah,
and goo in the corner.
So there's our beautiful Albanian Alicia. I did like that when the wolves howl a second time, it sent cold chills down his back, and for the very first time, Dale was becoming scared. And I was like, ever? Like, nom?
Right.
Like walking through the woods and all along the watchtower's playing, and you've just had a guy, explode and die in your arms. But the wolves in under trucking route are what gets you scared for the first time.
I can't find my legs, man. That is funny. Anyway.
But then they leave the boy who's they've determined is in a coma, and they're going back to the truck to try to radio for some help, I guess.
And check the Qualcomm.
Sure, of course. Maybe it's zapped back into functioning status. But then he goes looking for it, but he continued to the exact spot the truck should have been. No tracks, nor any indication it was ever there. He became sick at his stomach.
Yeah. Is that a thing?
A regional term? Some people say stand online or inline. I'm going to say it's not.
I think it is not. I think it is not. Before we get to that, by the way, when he comes back, Chad checks the Qualcomm for like the 30th time. We're just in a loop. And
if Qualcomm's might be back in functioning after not working 30 times, maybe this is not a device you want to use if it's that unreliable.
Yeah, Qualcomm. Why do you have stadiums with your name on it? But he says about the boy, he is alive, and that's a good sign. Which made me think, yeah, when you're trying to save someone's life and he's still alive, that is is one of the best signs.
Best possible outcome, yeah.
Yeah. So they go back, and then they meet our two new characters who I love. Why don't you introduce them, Connor?
So we've got two characters, and believe it or not, they also say each other's names every sentence to start their names, even though they've been talking to each other for hours. You compared that to something like the way that a horrible like salesman would do something to you, like or a guy's getting you to try to join a gym.
Yeah, a used car salesman. Where you shake hands, it grabs you behind the elbow, sort of dominates you slightly on the handshake, and then refers to you by your name at the start of every sentence.
It is the most off-putting thing. Like it just is. It's so artificial and weird that like it reminds you 100% that it calls attention to itself.
I once went with a guy who he was a roommate and he was a dumbass. I'll say that. But he was buying a dumbass car from a used car lot, and the guy was shook our hands like that and was doing the I'll tell you what, Mike. I don't remember what the guy's name. Let's call him Chad. All right, hey Chad. And then he pulled him close and did the actual. I swear to God, this is true. I witnessed it. He pulled him close with the handshake and then whispered in his ear, like, "I'll tell you what, you buy this car right here, the ladies, you'll have to beat them off with a stick. I'm telling you the truth." and I was, of course, horrified. I think the guy bought the car, so
it worked.
Yeah,
but it's an off-putting thing, and it's off-putting that he sized you two up and thought that was what was going to seal the deal.
Right.
But yeah, so we've got a John, one character, and then we've got our second Patch of the book.
Yeah,
Patch
what
Wilson.
the hell? Patch Wilson, which he refers to him as Wilson first, and then we learn as Patch.
Yeah, it was a very clumsy introduction because he says Wilson and then Patch Wilson. But so the first Patch was the pissed off Tom Selleck in the bar that had just traveled from Salt Lake City to compete in the rodeo.
Who would have told the waitress because he knew that her boyfriend was going to ride the next day, so he would have mentioned the weather had there been any weather to mention to the waitress, who then asked if they wanted coffee.
Yes. Her boyfriend, Jim Dalen. So yeah, they are discussing how Patch tried to abduct a woman, a Indian woman, and then they beat her son. They whipped him. They discussed this for pages, and our characters just sort of silently overhearing them all. So yeah, pages of this discussion go on, and then John says, "You beat that boy to death with that whip of yourn, and the chief ain't going to take too lightly of it. And we've got to move pronto or loose our hair, and it's your damn fault." So yeah, there's a real sense of urgency as they stand around telling each other what they did.
Right.
That they need to start getting up to Montana, I think, so they can trap some beavers.
Which where are they hiding to listen to this?
I think it's just we've got to assume that it's pretty much just like an offstage character in a play that just is sort of peeking up over something like Kilroy was here.
Right, yeah. I mean, I remember having to do the asides in Shakespeare are so bizarre. I was in one of my first plays was Macbeth, and Macbeth will have entire soliloquies while the other two characters are standing right there. And I always thought that was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, right.
It's an odd convention to have to get used to, but that's apparently what's happening.
Right. Being within earshot is a weird place to be and not be able to be seen. But so those two are having that conversation, and then Chad. This is the last thing I have, but. What the hell is going on, Chad thought to himself. No one traps for fur anymore, and Indians don't go around scalping people this day and time. Then it hit him. Just what day and time is it here? And why are Dale and I here? Is it possible we have somehow been placed back in time? And if so, how on earth do we get back? Or do we? So all five of those questions hit him. That thought process. That's something that just, threw him back in his chair like a Magnavox ad.
I wondered what this did to his fairly certain theory that guy was hiding a herd of buffalo for years until he let them loose. I wonder how much shame he felt when he realized, oh my God, this theory that I held so dear has been shattered.
he was about to bet Dale his share of the extra $30 from Ogallala. Now he's super glad he didn't do that because he was so certain about his theory.
Yeah, I just had that. Man, did it take a dark turn with that? The guys are talking about like, boy, oh boy, man, we got to go get some hides up north from here. Now we can't trade nothing to the Redskins in this part of the country because you killed the chief's only son and tried to rape his wife.
Yes,
Jack. Yeah. Just reading
Yeah.
this light trucking story with a time element in it.
right. With it just packed wall to wall with childlike wonder, about these two dopes traveling across the country.
Boy,
But
oh
yeah,
boy, Chad. I wonder if he tried to rape his wife.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, Mike, it makes you wonder who the real savage was.
Oh, man, you've got me thinking.
What's so civil about war anyway? So we leave the final sentence of this chapter was something like, it's too bad that kid didn't make a sound whilst I beat up on him, kind of took all the fun out of whooping him. So these are mustache twirlingly evil guys that we're going to be dealing with here.
Well, the Dante and Eli of Trucking Through Time.
Yes, right. Yeah, we've got our evil guys come in duos in these last couple of books.
Yeah, so there we are. They're back in time, as the great Huey Lewis said, and no reason why, which I think is a great. It's like what is it? The Bill
Groundhog
Murray movie.
Day.
Groundhog
Yeah.
Day, right? Never explained.
Yeah, you don't need to
Never
know.
resolved. Yeah.
I saw something recently that said the studio kept pushing him for a reason, and you never get it. And obviously, the movie is much better for that lack of studio interference. So maybe this will turn out like Groundhog Day, something that's taught in screenplay classes and beloved, quotable. Or it could be Dwight David Thrashian. Who knows? What do you think? Are they going to go back and forth through time, or are they just going? Is this the one trip? They're going to be back, and then they're going to escape at the very end.
I think they're going to. Well, given the fanfic, I think they're going to fix something. It's like the classic. The ghosts are bothering us because there's some wrong, and once they fix the wrong, the timeline will be fixed.
Okay,
so that's my prediction.
Good prediction. Does someone find love in this other timeline?
I will only say this. This is my only further prediction. More knickknacks will be purchased. More than that, I will not venture.
All right. Well, there are our predictions. I would encourage everyone to speculate on your own if you haven't read ahead. There have been people who have been talking to us saying that they have already finished this book. Like they bought it when we first started talking about it, started reading it, and I guess at some point you stopped being able to put it down. So they neglected to read the Mister. They obviously did not read Pappy's works. Yeah.
So they're eating their dessert. They're picking the marshmallows out of the cereal, and
I guess so. Yeah,
man,
it's like,
come on, you
it's
guys.
Rough. I guess we're suffering for your benefit. Thank you very much. But yeah, it seems like people are very excited. We've got just about the most emails for this first section as we ever have received for a book. So I think people are enjoying it, and a lot of them sent us dumb sentences. So let's read some of those right now.
A sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. A capital letter is not a small letter. A capital letter is big, big, big. A sentence ends with a period, or an exclamation, or a question mark. A sentence always.
Well, Charles has covered all of that. He's got them all right.
He does, yeah. There haven't been too many punctuation errors here, although it's hard to tell because of the kerning. But there are many dumb sentences. And as always, a lot of these dumb sentences were sent in by people who support us on Patreon, which you can support too at patreon.com/372 pages. We are still nearing the mythical 400 Patreon mark. It'll happen one of these days, but we're getting up there, and these people are having a lot of fun over there. I think some people just want our copies of the Mister, so we're sending those out this week. So thanks to everyone who sends things in from there. We really appreciate it. The first sentence, we'll just revisit it one more time. Everyone's favorite passage. Heather sent this one in. He and his partner were different as night and day, and the most unlikely team you could imagine. She also pointed out that both were described as being tough as nails. So that is another difference, I guess, between the two of them. One is like 3/8 nails, and the other ones are 7/8 nails. That could be how they are different. Kelly wrote in, big fella looks like a pissed off Tom Selleck. He's probably a bull rider or something, which again is the just the sort of assumption you make as the very first person you see in a bar wearing a cowboy hat, in a bar where everyone is wearing a cowboy hat. Sharon sent in, I have to squirt in the dirt first. So that I didn't realize it was first. That it gets nicely rhymingly alliterative in the way that's said. Janelle wrote in, breakfast was satisfying, and they were ready to go as soon as they had finished. So not they weren't eating their satisfying breakfast and decided to just lift up and go halfway through, or even leave before it had arrived. They were ready to go once they had finished. David sent in, Chad, where is the interstate and telephone poles and everything else we are accustomed to seeing, like people? So that's a real take me to your leader kind of sentence.
Oh, that was mine. It just got burnt.
Oh, damn it.
No, that's good. It shows that we're on it. Yeah.
Brian said, I think he's talking about the storm, the chilling story that Chad told. I spent the night at a restaurant parking lot across the street from the truck stop because there was no room anywhere else because of all the other trucks. So there we have evidence that he has trucked by himself and slept at a truck stop. So it's a viable option, unless the truck stops get too full because of the other trucks. Adam said, it wasn't long before Chad was back with his pack on his back and his arms full of everything he could carry. And he said, I actually liked the sentence. I thought it had a Dr. Seuss quality to the way it sounded, which is clearly what the author was going for. Chad was back with his pack on his back. Hop on pop.
Oh, wow. I missed that one. That is good. Yeah.
Elizabeth said, I forget what this is referring to, but they were received in a manner that was friendly most always. I think that's talking about just going into the Western bars. Friendly most always is yet another way that truckers and most normal people talk. This is Dawn talking about their skills assessing this the Indian boy. That peanut butter and honey would be just the thing to give him strength, and I know he would like it. He could have a deadly peanut allergy for all you know. Like, he could be allergic to this food. He's never, I guess they don't know they're back in time. But anyway, self-assessment, settle down.
Well, I'm sure that they, if he had the peanut allergy, they go into one of their bags and pull out the bleach and the rags, and they wipe down to make sure that every item was safe so that he could eat the honey.
Yeah, these truckers are very up with the modern concerns of the parent of the allergic child. Christopher said that Chad was never one to sleep over 5 to 6 hours at a time, but he probably needed the rest. He says, probably. Does the narrator not know? This is a Kleinian narrator too, apparently. And Jordan, the last one, says, I keep thinking there's a logical explanation to this, but everything keeps on happening to confuse me all the more. Matter of fact, I'm totally confused, a little concerned, and certainly not sure of anything. So that is one that stood out to a lot of people. I guess you burned yours, but the first one I had was of course the Californian directions, because that was all one sentence. And, oh man, I had the same one too. Dale made another startling discovery. Chad, where is the interstate and telephone poles and everything else we're accustomed to seeing like people?
Oh, wow.
Wow. So yeah.
3 of us.
I think, I guess I never think of, being accustomed to seeing people. But I guess I am.
Especially since it's an addendum, like where are all the things we're used to seeing? Like my door, the desk that I'm standing at.
Yes.
Oh, and people.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
taking up the rear there is people.
And then we have one email this time, and let's play the song. So yeah, this mail is by David. It has a very helpful visual aids, which I will post on the feeds when this episode comes out. But he said he wanted to check the reasonableness of Chad's route from Atlanta to the Bay Area through Ogallala that is rattled off on page 4. We never talked about Ogallala, but that was a spine-tingling sequence of unhooking a thing and leaving without incident.
Right. That was the one that they were promised, right? Like,
yeah,
it was a drop and go or something.
Yeah.
There was a name for it.
Yeah, there was a boy working there. But anyway, so don't know if that comes up, but maybe he just wanted to try to get me to say Ogallala. As this book was written in 2002, he used MapQuest to get the directions. I assume MapQuest is still accurate, but I assume they're not just providing wildly inaccurate directions if they're still up. But he says, I had to modify the suggestive course extensively to meet Chad's recommendation. I'm not a truck driver, but I can assume that for the most part, the recommended route via car is the same as via truck. He says, MapQuest fought back from the beginning, dissuading us from taking I-20 West. Not going on I-75 heading northwest adds about an hour to the trip. MapQuest would then want us to take I-65 due north, but nope, we were supposed to go backwards northeast on I-59 according to Chad. That takes us from Alabama back into Georgia, adding another hour to the trip. From here, we actually can't get from I-24 west onto I-55 north. We have to get on I-57 south, adding yet another hour. When we reach I-70 past St. Louis, MapQuest and Chad agree for a while. Once we're parallel with Lincoln, we could just turn west onto I-80, but Chad thinks we should take a shortcut by going 44 miles north, driving through an extra major city, Omaha, and then turn back south onto Highway 6. His shortcut adds 1+ more hour to our trip. And then he says the recommended route actually takes 38 hours on MapQuest. Chad's directions take around 42 hours. The shortcuts Chad claims to know would make the trip at least 10% longer. Then again, Chad is an ex-Marine and tough as nails, so I wouldn't want to be one to tell him he's wrong. That was from David.
Very nice. Yeah, I did the MapQuest of it. Probably didn't use MapQuest, but I just checked the major beats and it looked. So I didn't. Thank you for drilling down on that.
Yeah, it's looking at I think he has side by side MapQuest directions versus Chad, so it'll be good to look at. And
nice.
I don't know, maybe some people will be so inspired to go and take this trip themselves. They'll be promised the lure of fresh meat and harrowing menu stories that they'll actually take a summer trip out to Wyoming. I'm going to Colorado later this summer, so I can actually weigh in on some of that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So this will be hopefully this will be a journey. I don't know other things like that, but there's the song by Van Morrison, Coney Island, which is this idyllic little spoken word piece. And people take that trip, I guess. They do the Coney Island trip, but apparently he gets the directions wrong at some point of his own his own beloved Ireland. But yeah, so maybe this will be the 38-hour trucking through time.
Yeah, it's the Cannonball
trip.
Run.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you, everyone who emailed everything, fanfic, dumb sentences, emails that we didn't read and couldn't respond to. We have a lot of stuff to cover, but I think for next time, we're going to read through Chapter 5. That's the same number of pages as this time, page 116. I don't think anyone has an ebook of this, so that's all reading the same bound paperback Times New Manifesto fonted book. So through Chapter 5, page 116, support our Patreon, send us in fanfic. Anything else?
Nothing else at all. I just say, man, get your eyes checked after this book. It is, it is rough stuff. But thank you all, and thank you, Patreon people. This is 372 pages. We'll never get back. So long.
Bye.